Al Pacino. Al Pacino. Look how cute you are, Al Pacino. Come on over here. First of all, they would have stood and screamed for you.
Oh,
you
gee.
missed that. Want me to do it for Woo! This is what it would have been like. Woo! Woo! Thank you for coming.
Oh, my
I can't even tell you how great this movie is.
I can't even tell you how grateful I am for you to just being the way you are about it.
It is. It really got me.
Voicing it. Oh, thanks.
I hope we get everyone to go see it.
I hope so.
All right, now I promise this will be painful. Anything you,
okay.
not painful, anything that you don't like, we'll take out.
Okay.
So if I ask you something really horrible,
Sure.
all you have to do is say, Ro, take that out. Would you like the footstool?
This is great.
Oh, you can.
Oh,
All right.
gee,
I have a
yeah.
footstool because I have short legs.
Oh yeah, well,
You
as you can
can let
see,
me
my
know.
legs are reaching into the next. No, the footstool's good.
You like
It's
it?
good.
See, it's much better. I had that installed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me when you're ready.
Anyone have a coat and ear muffins?
Are you cold? When all the people are here, actually, it's a lot warmer
They
because
warm it
they
up.
absorb the body, you know.
That's like the theater. When you go to the theater and you're in a play and you go there before the audience comes, it's freezing, and they say, well, it can't be cold enough in the theater, then the audience comes.
You ever do Letterman show?
No, I haven't done a talk show in 30 years.
In 30 years.
And
Is there a reason?
Well, I think it's even longer. Well, I had a strange experience when I did it. The last time I did one 30 years ago, I don't know if I can remember that. I remember I went out, the audience was applauding, didn't know me, I hadn't done a movie yet.
Oh, really?
So
Do you remember what show it was?
I was in a
Johnny
play.
Carson?
I think it was Merv Griffin's show.
Merv Griffin. Mm-hmm.
So I hadn't done a play, and the audience was applauding me, and I thought, well, they don't know me. So I thought I was confused by it, and I bowed, and then as I bowed, I realized that I was bowing a little longer than is natural. I was giving a theater bow, but I was down there for an interminable amount of time. I couldn't get up, and I got up. They, of course, had stopped applauding, and I got up and I looked over at Merv Griffin, and I saw his face sort of just went, what am I in for? And it was downhill after that. You had to be there, really.
It was a crash and burn, literally?
It wasn't even that bad. That's the sorry thing about it.
Now, have you ever watched it since then?
It was just so dull.
It was dull.
I haven't watched it since then. I haven't felt like I needed that kind of torture.
Really? You see, now,
But maybe...
I bet it was not nearly as bad as you think. That would be my guess.
Probably right.
Because, like, I've seen you on Good Morning America just the other day, promoting this movie, which I love. And it's such an important movie, too. But you were very articulate. You were very friendly.
Yeah. It's I guess like anything else, it's something you get used to. If you do it, if I did this a lot more, I think I would be more used to it. It's just a matter of not having done it, and then you know how it gets. So you don't do a thing, and then you
becomes bigger and
it becomes
bigger.
bigger and bigger. So I'm going to do the talk show circuit.
All right, I'm going to break you in. I'm telling you, Al. You want to know audience? I got rid of them.
Right.
Next time, you're going to be so comfortable. You're going to come in here. You're going to take a bow.
I prefer the audience.
You do?
Yeah. I mean, you're terrific, but I'd like an audience here.
You would? Yeah. Lois!
Now that I'm here.
Oh, now that you're here, you want an audience.
Is this where you do this?
This is where we do the whole show. You've never watched it.
That's
all right.
Of course I've watched it.
That's okay.
No, I
you do?
That's sure.
Oh, really?
Of course.
Oh, all right. Because it's early.
I was there when you started.
Really?
Sure.
That's very nice of you.
It's a great show.
It would have intimidated me had I thought that Al Pacino was watching my first show.
Why?
I like to think it's housewives and housewives only. Do you know what I mean?
We all get together and watch it.
Exactly. Now, this movie, the reason that you're doing this talk show and others is to promote this movie, The Insider, which is just so phenomenal.
I'm so glad you liked it. I feel that Michael Mann did a wonderful job, and I think he really made an engaging movie that's exciting. And
that is really a morality play for the 90s. Do you know what I mean? It
talks
really
about things that we are living through, and yet he makes it interesting and keeps you at the edge of your seat, kind of thing.
And what a great character for you to play.
Yeah.
Now, when you read the script, you must have thought right away, this is a home run, because what a great character.
Yeah, when you see a movie that's about something and has all the kind of aspects of storytelling in it that makes it drama, and you have Michael Mann at the helm, and you have Eric Roth, the guy who wrote Forrest Gump. And you see that screenplay, and you know there's something going on there. And Michael Mann's going to put you in a movie, because he does like making movies. He makes movies.
Yeah, and he makes them well. He's got his own style, and
That's
some of the cuts in the Japanese restaurant, when you go from this point of view to that point of view, it really paces the movie, and I just loved it. Were you nervous about making this because it doesn't portray showbiz or CBS in the most positive light, but yet it's a very realistic light?
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. I thought that, you know, as it is, it's always, when it's a drama, it's always taking from a real event, and it sort of magnifies it in a way. It makes it drama, so it extracts from the event those things which they would think will be dramatic and hold people's interest. So at the time I read it, and it was a movie to me, and it plays like a movie, and yet some of the events are real, and they happened. And Michael Mann has told me that he's been faithful to the events, and Eric Roth, as they happened. But at the same time, one needs to embellish and set up certain situations so that the metaphor, if you will, comes through, the whole idea of what's underneath the picture. So sometimes you just set those things up.
And I think that
this is water.
That's for you, Al. Yes, and look, I have mine. Cheers
32.
to Warner Brothers.
You're not supposed to toast water.
You're not?
Not good luck.
Really?
I just heard that.
Nobody told me that. Why hasn't someone told me this? I've been toasting water for 37 years.
I got those kind of things. I mean, if anybody says something isn't good luck or something, you know, no matter what it is, so I've got this list of things that I have to.
Did you ever hear?
I've had to adhere to.
Step on a crack, break your mother's back. Remember that one?
Yeah. You notice I didn't get on any cracks here.
Yeah. How about
you? It's got to stop.
What about this? Go past the graveyard, hold a button.
See, I got a new one.
There you go.
Just gave me a new one.
You didn't know that one. You see? Are you very superstitious about everything?
Well, being in, you know, it's like athletes, you know, some ball players you have these superstitions, you know, and actors, because what we go and do, because I've always likened it to getting on the wire. A tightrope walker goes on the wire, and he's up there about 100 feet, and he's just walking on this wire. It's a wire of the soul in a way when you're on stage, or when you're out there live, you know. So you sometimes need all the help you can get to go do it. So you develop sometimes little superstitions. I know actors throughout the years have had them.
And did you develop yours in the theater? Because you started in theater.
I developed in the theater, yeah. So after a while, you come across things like having been doing a play for a year, and you come out and you forget your first lines.
Right.
It's happened to me, actually.
Happened to me too.
It did?
I forgot the lyrics to my ballad in a musical I did on Broadway, and I just kept saying the same line over and over. I went, there are worse things I could do.
That's what you do.
There are worse things I could do. It was horrifying to me, though.
I did that once in an audition for Zorba the Greek. I actually did Luck Be a Lady Tonight. That was my audition piece.
From Guys and Dolls.
From Guys and Dolls. And a guy named Marvin Hamlish, I believe, worked on that, worked on the routine with me. And we had worked on it every day for, I don't know, for a month. I don't know why we worked so long on it, but I'd learned the whole song. I went to the audition, and I started with Luck Be a Lady Tonight, you know, luck be a lady tonight. Luck if you ever been a lady, luck be a lady tonight. And then luck be a lady tonight, and that's all that would come. And they were out there. It wasn't a live audience, it was the producers. The producers, the director, and I was auditioning. And I just kept going around, and I was caught, you know, in that circle. And I finally said, I know there are other lines. And they were laughing. And afterward, we were walking down the aisle, and Marvin Hamlish walked up to me, and he said, you know, I thought you'd go off tune, but I never thought you'd forget the lines, every one of them.
Yeah, it's gotta hurt.
I said, no, I didn't either. But you know, good news. I was called back.
You were, and you got the part.
I got the part.
There you go. Who could believe it? Now,
I think that's what got me the part.
Do you beat yourself up if you make a mistake like that? Do you feel like, do you get on yourself for an error like that?
No, I try to let those kind of things go. I think it's easier it's so hard to do, you know, like in movies sometimes you relive that day's shooting. I don't know if you've experienced that.
Yes, when you watch the film, yes.
Even when I go home afterward and I think, oh, I wish I only did it this way or that way, or I should have learned it better, you know. And so you spend a lot of time brooding over stuff, and that's not, you know, So I finally found a way to just let that go. I just say, I will not think about it. So like when I leave this show, I'm just not going to think of how I came off, because I'll keep questioning myself with, did I say the right thing about the picture? Did I feel as though
So far, you're doing really well.
Am I really?
You're doing great. You're very handsome.
Oh, really?
Yes, I fell in love with you in Serpico.
Oh,
that was when I first fell in love with you.
Oh,
do people still scream that at you when you walk down the street?
Serpico? Well, not Serpico. There's other more recent movies. Serpico's pretty far back. I don't think people. They usually do hoo-ah, you know.
Oh, they do that. Yeah, I love that too.
They do.
I was so happy.
A lot of Scarface. A lot of Scarface.
And a lot of Godfather stuff too.
A lot of
yeah. That was sort of a whole groundbreaking thing for you, was it not?
Well, yeah, that was. I'll make you an offer you can't refuse. I'll make him an offer you can't refuse. That was the going phrase back then. Oh yeah, Godfather did everything for me. I mean, that was it.
I read that you were very nervous the first few days, and you thought they were going to fire you. Is that
a
true story?
No, they were actually going to fire me. Yeah, and Francis Ford Coppola always wanted me in that part.
Right.
Even when I didn't think I was right for it, and I didn't. But he was adamant about me, and it was because of him I got the part. But after the first couple of weeks, I guess I wasn't delivering the kind of thing that they wanted, the studio wanted, and I didn't know how to do it. I knew I had some idea of this character having a journey, taking an arc, going from one kind of person to finally winding up this enigmatic person at the end of the picture. So, but I didn't know, because in a movie it's all fragmented. You're doing the middle first,
right?
But I was told that if I didn't sort of get my act together, that I was going. But I didn't know what act to get together. I didn't know how to do it. And then finally, I think it was the scene in the restaurant when Michael shoots Sollozzo. I think after that they decided to keep me. But before that they were wondering where I was going with the role.
Do you watch dailies when you do a movie? Dailies are the day's shooting for people at home. When after you work that day, you can go watch the yesterday's shooting. A lot of actors go. I have never been. Have you ever gone? Or do you go?
I have. Early on I did, but I don't anymore.
No.
And I found that early on I remember when I did Dog Day Afternoon, I saw the early rushes. And I remember seeing myself in the first opening scene in a disguise. I had glasses on, and I watched myself go into the bank, and I thought that I wasn't the character. I didn't have it.
Right.
And I really brooded over that one, because I had the whole movie to go, because I didn't think the character would wear a disguise. So I went home that night, and I remember in those days I was drinking a little bit, so I got myself a half gallon of white wine.
Right.
I stayed up all night, and I came in the next day with, by the way, I was at the rushes and I was watching it, and I leaned over to, Sidney Lumet was directing that picture, and I leaned over to Marty Bregman, who was the producer. And I mentioned to him in his ear that I said, I think we're going to have to reshoot this scene. He said, what? What's the matter? And then I left. And then I stayed up all night and...
Got a little toasty.
Yeah. Got a little toasty, got the character, finally worked through it. I don't know it happened, but it was lucky, and something came in. I came in with that character. And then I thought, because I said to them, this guy would never go into a bank with a disguise on. This guy wants to get caught, at least in this picture, and at least the way I thought of it. And we went back and reshot.
And we did it.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
My first film that I did was a really bad film that never got released called Car 54, Where Are You? But I never had seen myself in a movie, so I went to the dailies, and I was so distracted. I was like, oh, my stomach's sticking out. So the next day I'm acting like trying to hold in my stomach and trying to, and it was so bad that I decided I can't see it anymore because I'm too judgmental.
That's right. That's what happens. You start judging yourself, and once you start to censor yourself, that's when you start finding you stiffen up.
Yeah.
That's why it's good to have a director you can trust, someone like a Michael Mann, because it allows you to do whatever you want and let him be the censor. So you're not censoring yourself. Actors have trouble sometimes when they censor themselves. They should be allowed to be free and go with their impulses and their instincts, and not be so. I mean, I've seen some wonderful performances that way, and there's certain actors that work in that style.
Right.
But I prefer to be hope that spontaneity will come, and because editors usually always pretty much put you in a good light.
Yeah, they
and
can see,
they
right.
always make you look good. So no matter what you do.
Do you improvise a lot in the scripts that you have? Or you do word
Well,
for word?
there's some directors that enjoy the improvisation. So it's always good when you can do it in a realistic drama. But I always see an improvisation as a means. If the script is good, you improvise to finally arrive
at the thought.
And then go with the lines that are written. So it's a good process. Some directors take rehearsal. See, rehearsal's interesting because some rehearsals are spent doing all these kinds of things. But some rehearsals are spent just getting to know the people you're playing with.
Right.
And that's worthwhile. So I really enjoy rehearsals because it puts people together. So if we're doing something, we don't have to do the scene, but we can go out, get something, see each other's houses, just get to know each other a little bit, even if it's in a very microcosm of what we're going to know. But it starts us off. It gets us off.
And
so we're not seeing each other the first.
Exactly, and starting to feel each other out there on camera when you're supposed to already have a relationship.
That's right.
Do you find fame makes it more difficult for you to be an actor because you don't really get to experience life realistically? You know, everybody's looking at you instead of you observing them.
Well, yeah, that's true. It's like I once said a long time ago, it's like the light goes in your eye, and what you try to do in life is to turn the light around so you could see out. And so it's after a while you learn to try to do that, you know, almost,
right.
you know, figuratively turn that light around. And that's probably why I've always stayed back of interviews and stuff, because I always felt the less you knew about me, the more you'd accept
you as other characters.
The characters I was doing. And in a sense, that's sort of been my track, and what I did in my movies and throughout. And I kind of stuck to that. And I think there's a certain I have a sort of natural shyness, but some actors are more extroverted.
Right,
and
gregarious.
They do it that way. And there's some actors are more shy. That's why they act.
Right.
So people say, "Oh, you're an actor. How can you be shy?" But that's a way of compensating for it, I think.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. I think even being very extroverted or very funny is the same thing. Innately, there's a shyness that you're overcompensating for. Because I say that to people that I'm shy, and they don't believe it. But I am a little, because I get intimidated.
And a lot of comedians are. And when you see comedians, you know them well. I mean, they're not what you think they are. You know?
Yeah, they're often much more serious.
Much more serious.
Yeah.
You know, you try to clown around, or you know, but even a Robin Williams, you know, you see him in life, he's a serious person.
And it's tough because when I go supermarket shopping, you know, people say to me, "What's the matter?" Because I have my normal face. Here's my normal face.
That's right. That's right.
Now, when I'm on the show with you, I'm going to do this because I'm happy, I'm working. But my normal face, and every day they say, "What's the matter with you?"
Yeah.
And it's it got me a little depressed a few years ago because I thought every time I went out I had to be like this, you know, which is a big burden if you're trying to just live a life, you know.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, you grew up here in New York.
Yeah.
And you always want to act?
As far back as I remember, I did it. I didn't want to until I was in my late teens, which is also very young. But I started, we didn't have television in our house, so my mother took me to movies, and that's how I learned about performers and characters. So I'd come home and act out the movie I just saw, because my mother worked, and when she came home, she'd take me to the movies. But I remember starting then, at a very young age, doing that as a way to sort of cope with being at home, you know, when I was alone there.
Right.
And my grandmother and grandfather and my mother raised me in the South Bronx. But I can remember in school being in the classes and the wonderful teachers there, like this woman, Blanche Rothstein, who actually came to my house, my grandmother, and asked my grandmother to encourage me in this. And that was early on. And we all find, I guess, as we go on, that there's always a teacher in our lives, someone, a mentor, some way, who's encouraged us, because I guess that's what you look for. You know, is where is the encouragement, and you keep looking for it. We all do. We still do. And at an early age, sometimes it's a good thing to get, and it's good to keep your eye on that with young people, as to when to encourage them. And I think that early on, she had the most to do with my finally staying with acting.
Really?
I mean, yeah.
And did you stay in touch with her as your career progressed?
No, I didn't,
no,
because I wonder, I hope she's still alive, but she was elderly at the time,
right.
well, according to me, because I was 8 or 9 years old.
Right.
And but throughout my life, I think, you know, you find your little pockets of these little places where you can go to and get
fed.
Get fed,
yeah.
nourished,
yeah.
in a way. And I had it here in New York because I had the great off-Broadway renaissance in the 60s, where we did plays and cafes and passed the hat around afterward. That's how we lived. And after the play, we'd take a straw hat and basket and pass it around. People would drop, you know, 25 cents,
right.
whatever they had, and that's how we ate. We did 16 shows a week.
Oh,
doing
wow.
that.
It's worse than work in Vegas.
But, yeah, but New York was...
always home for you.
New York was this mecca of cafe theater in the Village in the 60s when there was the sort of the birth of the living theater, and off Broadway just started. You know,
and then in the
a few years
60s you
back.
went to Broadway and won your first Tony Award.
Then I went to Broadway. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that 67?
I went to off Broadway. And I did a play called India Wants the Bronx, and then I was given the Obie Award that year for off-Broadway acting. And then I got this part in Does a Tiger Wear a Necktie, and I got a Tony Award. So it was like all of a sudden, out of obscurity, I was sort of I felt as though I was. And then The Godfather came along, and everything is relative, you know. But at that time, to me, being a success in an off-Broadway show was you know, an amazing thing. It was
more than you could have dreamed.
More than I could even dream of. And then something happened. It was the period, I guess, and things just started to go in a way. And I looked up, and there it was, 1972, and my life had just so changed so radically.
Your parents must have been proud. Did your mom get to see you?
My mom never got to see me.
She never did. No, you must. That must be sad for you. Yeah, that's.
Nor did my grandfather, who raised me and helped support me in my young life.
Yeah.
But my dad got to see me, and my grandmother. My grandmother was the first one in when they premiered the show here, you know, 46th and Broadway. She went in. My aunt, my mother's sister, and her and me, and we went in. And it was all happening, you know, The Godfather was premiering. And it was like a dream. And of course, I went in, and as soon as the lights went out, I just got out of there. I just couldn't.
You didn't want to watch it.
I couldn't do it. And but it meant a lot to my grandmother, and I know she was experiencing it. And I've always had trouble myself experiencing an event or something that takes place, and just allowing it, or enjoying it, or whatever you do with it, or just accepting it. I've always been shy of that stuff, and you hope that you can learn from these things, and so when something comes up, you can accept it.
Yeah, and take it in a little bit.
Yeah,
you know.
Always, like when I was given the Oscar, I was never really, when I won it, I just didn't feel I was there when I won it.
Yes, like you're watching it, I do understand.
And I was just so atrophied with nerves that the experience went by me.
Yeah, I often find that I feel as though I'm watching my life. And then sometimes I'll see something that I did, and I'll go, I interviewed him. Do you know, like even this, like I'll watch this, you know, in a few months when it'll be rerun, and I'll go, I sat with Al Pacino. Right now, I'm sort of in
Rosie,
it. But you know what I mean? But I feel
sure.
like if I bump into you in the mall,
let's watch it together then.
we should, would you?
Couple of months,
we'll
let's
have
sit
some
down and
U's
watch
or
it.
something.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch your movies? If you're flipping by, you see The Godfather, you stop?
Well, yeah, I'll stop. I've stopped. That's how I saw The Godfather, actually, flipping by, and I saw it, and it's one of those movies that, you know, when you see Godfather 1, I mean, when it starts, you sort of pay attention to it because Francis Coppola made this movie that you really you're glued to. But usually that's the only way I'll get to see it, is if I'm flipping through and something comes up. But I prefer not to see them. Like I haven't seen The Insider, and probably won't see it for a while.
Really?
Yeah. So because, you know, I did see it when it
was a finished product.
When it was finished,
yes.
and Michael showed it to me, and then you know, usually you do a movie and the director shows you the picture, And sometimes most directors will ask you for some ideas that you might have, you know, and then you're there, you're somewhat engaged, and then it's over. Then he does it. And to see it again, somehow but later on,
yeah,
you know,
years later, you can almost have a more objective approach to it.
Yeah, and you sort of look forward to it. You say, yeah, I wonder what that was like. What was that? Do I remember anything from that film?
Well, you should sneak into a theater to watch this, because where I saw it, the people clapped at the end. Yelled and clapped, and I was so moved by it. I really was. It is like a Rocky story of this one heroic man who meets up with another heroic man, and together they change the country.
Yeah.
Literally, I mean, $1 billion lawsuit as a result of this one man's bravery and the courage of the character you play.
And I think, with all due respect, it's kind of misleading to think it's about any particular people. It's not. It's diverse. It covers a lot of things. It explores.
Right.
In the same way that 60 Minutes explores. 60 Minutes actually explores things. Well, this movie explores them in a way. It does the same thing, but in a dramatic way. And there's so many things you can do in drama. It's not a documentary. Drama, if you did it as a documentary, if you did it the way it really happened, people would be bored.
Right.
They wouldn't want to watch it, because it's so you take the events and you dramatize them, and you try to get out of that drama the essence of what, the theme of what the thing is trying to say.
And that's what your responsibility is to that essence.
Of course.
To that truth, because you're making a movie, you know. And I just think that it's about so much more than 60 Minutes in the tobacco industry. It's about our society and people standing up for what they believe in, and, you know, people feeling oppressed and powerless, and what lengths they're willing to go to in order to reclaim their soul. You know, that's what it's about.
That's where the feeling comes in.
Right.
Exactly.
And you succeeded, not only in the performance, but in the film.
Wonderful.
It reminded me what I heard in my head. I often hear musical lyrics to emotional events that happen in my life. Like my child's birth, I'll hear a song in my head. And when I was watching it, I thought of Les Mis. You know, do you hear the people singing the song of angry men, the music of a people who will not be slaves again? And then what reminded me of Jeff, when the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drum, there is life about to start when tomorrow comes. And it's to say, will you stand and fight? Will you stand up and say, this is what I believe in, and I'm going down with this, because
when you do, you know, it's not going to be quite what you think it is, you see. And I think that's what the picture reveals too. Life isn't quite. It isn't just, you know. It's. There's a lot of colors to it. It's a real.
There's ramifications to every action, and you know,
and it changes your very your very essence.
Was there a particular scene that was most difficult for you to do in this movie, or?
There was a scene, and I really credit Michael Mann with helping me with it, because he in the early scene where Lowell Bergman interviews Wygant for the first time
in the hotel room.
In the hotel room, and I was satisfied to just do it as a kind of, well, you know, we've seen these scenes before.
Nice
guy
to meet
comes
you.
in, nice to meet you. Now tell me what's on your mind, what's going on. You know, you do that. But Michael was going after something else. I still don't know what he was going after, but I remember 20 takes later, I said, "Have I done it yet, Michael?" You know,
right.
And he did get me into a place where I started to experience what it's like to really manipulate someone in a way, to manipulate this other character to do what he wants to do, what he needs to do, what he's crying to do, you know, inside, and that's what Michael was at, and subtly.
Yes.
So you don't blow the whole thing, and he may never say anything anymore.
Right.
So you're walking on that wire while you're doing it, and so Michael was adamant, and stuck with me on it, and really.
No, it was a brilliant
really
scene.
Guided me through it.
Do you know, the scene that moved me most, watching acting-wise, was when you had the Mike Wallace character came to your hotel and spoke to you. And because what you had there was sort of anger at him, yet resignation, yet respect. And it's hard to play those three things in one look or feeling. And I was so impressed with that scene. I thought, whether or not it happened, you know, people have just, doesn't matter. I know what it was, the message that it got across, I think, was so poignant.
Well, their relationship was very important to both of them, and the way Chris Plummer and I worked it. That's how we sort of developed it, because we playing the characters came up with this idea with Michael about their relationship and the closeness of it and the symbiosis of it. So, and then for that to be challenged was
yes, and that was the big thing to overcome. Like, you know, it did remind me of Rocky. Did I say that already? But
Rocky,
it did. It reminded me of Rocky in a lot of ways. For each character went through their own kind of metamorphosis. And the beginning, I think, was so important to set it up, who you were.
Yeah.
You know, that beginning scene.
And Michael Mann really starts it really, boom. When he starts that picture, it's like, whoa. And then that's what he tries to sort of instill in the whole movie, and he tries to keep that pace going.
Well, I have to tell you, I was riveted. I really was,
great.
Al. It was such a great movie, and I honestly think all three of you are going to get nominated because it was just such an incredible. Christopher Plummer was amazing.
He was amazing. He is amazing. That
yes,
guy. I mean, he's a great actor, and Russell Crowe did
phenomenal,
an amazing job. He transformed himself.
Do you know that I was very sad because we had Russell Crowe on before the movie opened, and I hadn't seen it yet.
Oh,
and how I wish that he could have been here after I had seen it, because I think it's the best movie I have seen. I'm not kidding you. I just loved it.
That's great to hear.
And it's really good.
Thank you.
Now listen, next time when you have a movie, you come back, we'll have a crowd.
Well, you see, that's the thing.
Look how easy this has been.
You know, I got a movie coming out too.
You do? What?
Coming in a. It's actually coming out too soon.
When is it coming out?
In about 6 weeks.
What movie is it?
Any Given Sunday. You know, Oliver Stone's picture about football.
Really?
So you know, maybe we'll try it.
We'll try it with a crowd?
Try it live with a crowd.
Yeah,
maybe.
you know what we'll do
This
for
has
you?
been my big break-in.
Yeah, you know, you're doing good, I'm telling you. But here's what we'll do. We'll have a crowd, but it won't be live. So we can edit out what you don't like. Then you'll get the feel of a crowd, but still not live. And then your next movie, you come back live crowd.
Oh, we have it all planned.
Is that good?
You know what I think we should do at one point?
Yeah.
Is point the camera at the empty audience.
Yeah, we should get that. Let's get a shot of the crowd going crazy for Al. Look at him standing up. Aren't they nice? Oh, please. Come on, he's shy. Well, you're delightful, and I thank you for being here.
Are.
Can I give you a kiss?
Thanks.
Oh, come on. Al Pacino. I'm kissing him. Whatever. Now, you don't go away, because we have to take photos. But you guys will be right back. Thank you, Al Pacino. Go see The Insider this weekend. You will not regret it.